Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and now we have Fitch downgrading Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac after using after U.S. rating cut. So, what does CNBC do every time that the chickens finally start to come home to roost for all the ridiculous money printing and government spending and all of that? When people finally start getting wise to the rigged system and how it's a big joke, they dust the cobwebs off of Warren Buffett and they bring him out.
New commentary from Berkshire Hathaway CEO Warren Buffett on the rating agency's downgrade of the U.S. long-term credit rating. Basically, he says he's not worried about it and it's not changing anything that Berkshire is doing in the markets right now. Here's a quote from him. He said, Berkshire bought $10 billion in U.S. treasuries last Monday. We bought $10 billion in treasuries this Monday. And the only question for next Monday is whether we will buy $10 billion in 3-month or 6-month T-bills. That's what he told us yesterday. That's been the decision that Berkshire makes every week recently. That's what he talked about in Japan when we...
And see, here's the problem for you and for me, is that we don't get to do what Warren Buffett gets to do. We don't get to get on the phone with the people at the Treasury and at the Federal Reserve and in the U.S. government to find out what's really going on before it happens. And so, yeah, you can make decisions and you can say things like that when you're going to be told before the ship sinks, okay? And then not only are you going to be told, but you're going to be able to be the one that bails them out with assurances from said government. That's what he did during the financial crisis. So what he does has no bearing on what I do. I can tell you that. Now, Brad Combs from Digital Perspectives had Fred Rispoli on. Remember, Fred Rispoli had a lawsuit going where he was trying to get the SEC to say once and for all, this is my understanding, once and for all, is Ethereum a security or not? Listen to what he says in this video.
All right, we're here with none other than Fred Rispoli from Hodl Law. Fred, how are you?
I'm doing great. Little disappointed with the setback we had that I know we're about to talk about, but in the grand scheme of things, life is good.
Yeah, life is good. And you know what? And thank goodness for people like you and John Deaton out here willing to take up the calls to get some answers. And that's exactly what you were trying to do with the SEC push that you made against the SEC to get them to declare whether Ethereum was or was not a security. Tell us the breakdown of what you just received here.
What the court said, basically, that's not enough. You're not really showing me how to law, and I understand where the court's coming from. Respectfully disagree. We're disappointed, but the court did take an honest look at it and said, yes, there's all this uncertainty, there's all these issues with what the SEC is doing, but we just don't think, or this court doesn't think, that the harm you're claiming the firm could suffer is real enough for me to go forward at this stage with the lawsuit. So it was, in that sense, a definite loss. But there were a couple other comments, I'll get into with you that, really solidified legally.
This is the important part.
And, we've got this is a written opinion now, that the SEC, doesn't have any final position on Ethereum. So it is still completely up in the air as to whether it's a security or not in the SEC's eyes. Again, I don't think the token itself is a security or the network itself, but it is unclear right now.
What's not unclear, folks, is certain transactions of Ethereum, like the ICO. That was a security all day long, and everybody knows it. And the question is, you went after Ripple for the origination and what happened way back when. So where's the Ethereum lawsuit on that? But this is the important part, a written opinion that solidifies legally, not Hinman's opinion or the opinion of Gary Gensler or Hester Pierce or anybody else or anybody at the CFTC. a written opinion this is legal, says that the SEC doesn't have any final position on Ethereum status as a security or not. And then we got this guy, his name's Joel Dietz. He's now suing Consensus. Remember, Joseph Lubin is Consensus, accusing them of stealing the idea behind MetaMask. The company denies the allegation. Now, I read some of this, and inside of this thing, it says he literally was talking to Vitalik Buterin himself when this about this thing, and that they all knew about it. This could get really interesting. Then we've got this. Now, every time I see, not to pick on Natalie Brunell, but I have to include her because she's one of them. Now, folks, I've been in this space a long time, and there are influencers that you see that got into this because they're passionate about it, and then there's influencers who I get this vibe like somebody handed them, like they said, all right, now go to the studio and here's the talking points, and she's one of them. There's a lot. I'd say 90% of the people who are quote influencers have been bought and paid for in one way or another. I'm not saying she has. I'm just saying I think a lot of them have been bought, paid for, and handed their talking points before they go out. And it's literally uncomfortable for me to watch her because I'm sitting here going, no, I can poke holes all in that, like right here.
Is that Bitcoin is a well-engineered, valuable, global digital asset that has a long future ahead of it. And whether you're an institutional investor or retail investor, if you want clarity, if you want the safe haven digital asset, then the least uncertain thing in the space is Bitcoin.
But Natalie, isn't that partly predicated on folks at the SEC, Gary Gensler, actually creating a little certainty around how we legally deal with Bitcoin and other crypto assets? I feel like the confusion stems in large part from regulatory bodies like the SEC. And in fact, it seems to me like they kind of like it, because at the end of the day, the best way to get a central bank digital currency is to make sure nobody has faith in anything else.
Let me correct this. The best way to get a central bank digital currency is to create Bitcoin, pretend like, if you're the government, and pretend like you don't know who Satoshi is, and make it a libertarian movement. Even put in the code when you create it something that makes it look like you're anti-bank bailouts. That way you herd all of the population into this thing, making them think this is some huge libertarian movement. And then when you finally flip the switch to CBDCs, they're all in and there's nothing they can do about it.
Am I overthinking this, or do you see the SEC as a bad actor right now in this space?
Look, the real question about whether something is a security is whether there's another party that can defraud you, that can print.
Okay, Natalie, got some news for you. I've shown the video and I know you've seen it because over 200,000 plus have seen it. We have Homeland Security on video saying they met with the 4 Satoshis. That is your 4 people who could defraud you. Those 4 people, somebody in that group of 4 people controls that Satoshi wallet. And that's the fact, Jack. Somebody does. That's 4 people. They know that they exist. They've met with them. And you never will. You'll never see Natalie Brunell address the 4 Satoshis video. How can she?
$1 billion worth of a token, borrow against it or give it to their cronies and run away with your money. So anything that has counterparty risk is a security and it merits disclosure. And the public has a right to know who can. I
want disclosure on who those 4 Satoshis Homeland Security met with, Natalie. That's what I want. Let's talk about that. I'll go on Fox Business. We'll talk about that all day. Let's play the video. Let's play the video and then have you answer it. They can't answer it.
These digital networks because the public can lose all of their money. Now, the crypto industry is essentially.
This is propped up propaganda, folks. Guaranteed. Ashley Prosper's right over the target, as she often is. If the opinions of the staff at the SEC are their own and they don't reflect the views of the commission, then Bitcoin does not have clarity. The next set of commissioners may have a different view. That's the problem with relying on snowflake statements from flaky agencies. Their words can just melt away. If we've learned anything, we've learned that. Now, this was from yesterday, and the Bitstamp tweeted this. Tomorrow, XRP Ledger, and look at their little thing, taking XRP to the next level. Coming soon. They said it comes today. All right. And I said, regardless of what this announcement is, there's no digital asset with more announcements that could drop at any moment than XRP. That's how it works when you are the only digital asset with legal clarity. And then there was this article. Check this out. Article's got some things wrong in it, but I wanted to show it to you. It's from Forbes. Crypto now braced for $6 trillion gold earthquake in 2024 after XRP led Bitcoin and Ethereum price boom. Notice how they always have to throw Bitcoin and Ethereum in there. Like somehow these up, but yeah, XRP is the reason, but Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to do well because of this. You always get that. Bitcoin and Ethereum and other major cryptocurrencies have swung wildly over the last month. The Bitcoin price almost doubled since dropping to recent lows, helped by shock, BlackRock, Crypto, Flip, XRP. Look, this is not accurate. XRP developer Ripple claiming surprise victories. Throw some shade there. Surprise victory over the SEC. Now, Chief Executive Hedge Fund Morgan Creek Capital Management Mark Yusko has predicted the Bitcoin price could soar to 300,000 by 2028, and next year's supply cut kicking off a rally that will push it beyond gold's $6 trillion market capitalization. Folks, I think these Bitcoin people are spooked over this XRP ruling. Bitcoin has never had to have any real competition. The only competition Bitcoin's ever had is the fake competition from Ethereum that never really had regulatory clarity. But now it's got XRP, the only, and that includes Bitcoin, the only digital asset with legal clarity, not the opinions of the SEC, the current people at the SEC and the CFTC, or the opinions of Congress. Legal clarity. XRP is the only one. Warren Davidson, the SEC has a Gary Gensler problem and a structural problem that he exposed to stop politicizing SEC, pass my SEC Stabilization Act. I'll ask Warren Davidson again. Is this all politics, or is it something that can actually get passed? Because if you're just trotting all this out to get political points, then you're part of the problem. Nobody's interested in these floated political bills that have no real meaning except to try to get you brownie points with voters. I don't give a rat's behind about that. I do think that Warren Davidson is one of the good guys. I do think that he has good intentions. Of course, he never did call for an investigation of ETHgate, that's pretty telling too. But I think that overall Warren Davidson is one of the good guys. But if you know your bill has no chance of passing and it's just for political talking points, then that doesn't help anybody. That's helping you maybe. All right, now this I'm going to put in the red file. I'm going to put this in the All the World's a Stage file. This is XRP Darren, who's a definite follow. Good guy, I like him. I follow him. Why is it showing that I don't follow? I keep running into this. I mean, I don't understand what's going on. He says, remember that Ripple won the Hong Kong CBDC use case with LoanSnap? There's much more than meets the eye. This guy he's talking to is one of those people from that agency we don't talk about on this channel. I don't want them to ever get mad at me. It's one of those 3-letter agencies, starts with a C. This guy's from that agency. Listen to what he says, folks, because look, I've always felt that much of what we've watched in digital assets were multiple government operations, multiple psyops. I think this world, if there's anything I've ever seen in my lifetime that looks like a psyop, WorldCoin is. Multiple government, I think the government is behind at minimum 90% of everything we've seen in crypto. Listen to what this guy says. It kind of brings it all full circle.
Sure. And I just kind of wanted and soldiers and also the Palau people, and it does bring a lot of benefits. I'm wondering if this is kind of like a test bed for a digital dollar. How would that look like? What's your opinion about that?
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong at all. I would say it's more than just a test bed, though, right? If you consider the U.S. and what the U.S. has to lose. So the United States is the
That's a point I've been making from the very beginning of this channel. And I've said it 1,000 times. Remember the Manhattan Project? You know, Oppenheimer's a big movie right now and all that over the creation of the atom bomb and all that. But remember, the Manhattan Project was secretive, folks. The Manhattan Project, because there was so much on the line. It was a big secretive project. And the question I've always asked on this channel is that the world reserve currency for the United States is even more important than an atom bomb. Believe it or not, in my opinion, it is what determines the standard of living for every person in the United States of America. Okay? If there's that much on the line, are you telling me that Bitcoin just happened? You telling me that all this just happened? No. There's too much on the line. This is something that would have been planned for decades. And that's why I say, put this in the red file. I think this red file's getting real thick, by the way.
Disputed economic superpower of the...
Wouldn't you do this all? Wouldn't this all be a secret operation? Wouldn't you make it look like it all just happened?
Planet. Nobody argues that. Nobody argues that today in 2023. Everybody argues whether or not they're going to retain that financial power in 2030, 2035, right? The backbone of the American GDP is in financial services. In excess of $2 trillion a year are import-export productive revenue that comes to and through the United States, which is about 8% of all GDP of the United States, comes just from financial services. Financial services don't manufacture anything. They don't cost any kind of, raw material, natural resource. They barely even have labor costs, right? We're just talking about innovations and technology that we create and we control.
One thing he's failed to mention, don't forget, Bill Clinton through NAFTA gave away our manufacturing to China, okay? So there's that. We used to have industry besides the financial industry.
That handle the transactions of the world. The UK has modeled itself off of the United States and become essentially the financial services capital of Europe.
That's Bill Clinton, who was also on that plane and went to that guy's island multiple times. You have to wonder, because we do know that was all a blackmail operation. What was the, what were you to do?
So our success...
I'm disgusted with this country for the future of my children at this point.
Basically making money off of the handling of money is what has made us a superpower, and it's what has made the UK a leading institution, a small country with a very large GDP. When you look at China, what is China trying to do? In Asia, the exact same thing. Predominantly, the center of financial power has been Hong Kong. Well, guess what China ingested in 2019? Hong Kong, right? So you can see China is trying to follow suit and replicate the same model that it saw in the UK and the US. So now that we're on the verge of a new kind of currency, cryptocurrency, once again, we have this technology that nobody debates and nobody says will not rule the future. Everybody is looking at cryptocurrencies as the direction of the future, digital currencies as the future. The question is just, how will they be implemented? How will they be used? How will they be valued? Now, the U.S. can't afford to just reject it outright.
The U.S. can't afford to not do something in secret to try to make this end in their favor. That's what I've always said. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. The red file activated has been activated. Thanks for listening.